The U.S. Supreme Court yesterday rejected a request for a religious exemption from New York's vaccine mandate. This was a group who went to the Supreme Court and said, we don't want to take the vaccine because our religion says you can't take vaccines or whatever, or some variation thereof. And you would think that that would be kind of the end of it. No, don't give me this nonsense, and the government has a right to blah, blah, blah. But instead, three of the justices on the court, Clarence Thomas, Sam Alito, and Neil Gorsuch, said, wait a minute, we should give them this exemption. We need to really protect religion here in this country and all that kind of stuff. And in fact, Gorsuch said that that those requesting the emergency exemption will suffer irreparable injury. This is what he said. He said the free exercise clause protects not only the right to hold unpopular religious beliefs inwardly and secretly, it protects the right to live out those beliefs publicly in the performance of or abstention from physical acts. Under this court's precedents, laws targeting acts for disfavor only when they are religious in nature or because of their religious character are doubtless unconstitutional. So what this says to me is that Neil Gorsuch and probably Alito and Thomas are fixing to establish a theocracy in the United States, or at least would not be uncomfortable with one. But I wanted to check in with somebody who is, really on top of these issues and what this, where this might logically go. Michelangelo Signorile follows my show on SiriusXM. His show is right after mine. Those of you who listen to me on SiriusXMProgress know him well. Channel 127 on SiriusXM, 3 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Michelangelo, welcome back. What are the long-term consequences of this and some of these other Supreme Court decisions? I guess in particular what they're doing with the abortion laws and how this might impact other rights across the United States, particularly rights for minorities who, arguably nobody is claiming a religious exemption so that they can discriminate against, for example, black people or Hispanics. But there's a whole crowd out there that wants to discriminate against LGBTQ people.
Thanks for having me back, Tom, and such an important topic. In the oral arguments before the Supreme Court regarding Mississippi's anti-abortion law and what was clearly, from the questioning, a direction expressed by the court that is very dangerous, that they could overturn Roe v. Wade. I mean, their questioning certainly showed that. Justice Sotomayor really was trying to hone in on what you're focusing on, and she was really trying to home in on it by saying that to the Attorney General from Mississippi, don't you see that if we could so easily overturn precedent with regard to abortion, we can do the same then with so many other rights that rely on the 14th Amendment, the Equal Clause, the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. And he tried to argue that, no, this wasn't the same. Roe v. Wade was different. Those other cases, such as Lawrence versus, the Lawrence
Kansas,
case, which was banning sodomy laws, Lawrence
v. Texas, excuse me, yeah.
Lawrence v. Texas, Obergefell, the marriage equality ruling, that those cases drew clear rules. You can't ban intimate relationships. You can't ban marriage. In the case of Griswold, you can't ban contraception, and that this was different. And first off, that was ludicrous because he also went on to say that none of them have produced negative consequences. Well, he's from a state, Mississippi, that has passed laws directly in response to Obergefell, saying that marriage equality has produced negative consequences, that children are going to be raised in these terrible environments, perverted, quote unquote, indoctrinated into homosexuality. Bakers and florists have to serve these people. So they have said that marriage has produced negative consequences, and that was part of his answer to her, and she just wasn't having it. And she said, you are talking about issues that we have discussed for years, but you're basically saying none of this was in the Constitution, like abortion, was not in the Constitution. Well, neither was marriage equality. We interpret the Constitution. Right. And he just hemmed and hawed, and she made the point that he was dissimilating in this case by saying that ruling on abortion wouldn't have an effect on those other issues. And I think she's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Justice Amy Coney Barrett tried to help him out, but we know she's not a defender of marriage equality, and in fact was put on that court by the very people who are opposed to marriage equality, and is a conservative Christian who is, very much in line with the idea that there should be states making these decisions, not a federal law,
right,
that states should decide on marriage.
And it's not like there's not already a large foot in the door or camel's nose under the tent, or whatever tired cliche you want to use. Gorsuch actually footnoted his dissent with the Masterpiece Cake Shop case. Tell us about that.
Yes, that was a case in which a baker was seeking to be excluded from serving a gay couple simply because they were seeking a wedding cake for their wedding. Now,
and he cited religion as his basis for this.
Yes, and that couple had never even asked for a specific design. They were turned away simply because they said they wanted a wedding cake. So it wasn't even an issue of free expression or we want you to put this on the cake or that on the cake. As soon as they said they were gay, they were out. And, the Supreme Court punted on that case, but they left it open. And we can see where they're going with carving out religious exemptions on marriage equality and other issues.
So it looks to me, we're talking with Michelangelo Signorile, the journalist, commentator, host of the Michelangelo Signorile Show on Sirius-XM-Progress 127, right here on Sirius-XM, right after me, actually. And Michelangelo also has a great newsletter. By the way, I subscribe to your newsletter, but I don't recall the URL. How does somebody, if they want to subscribe to your newsletter, how do they find it?
It's signorile.substack.com, signorile.substack.com, the Signorile Report. And I actually wrote all about those arguments in the Supreme Court case on the Mississippi abortion law.
Right, which is the thing that caused me to say to Sean, hey, we've got to get him on the program and talk about this. This guy's doing his homework. So Michelangelo, let's engage in a little thought experiment here. If the court were to pick up a couple of more conservatives, which would be not inconceivable if in 2024 you get a Republican president, and that three-justice minority who thinks that religious rights should should trump everything, becomes a six or a five-person majority. How different might America be? I can see, immediately rolling back gay marriage. I can see rolling back abortion rights. I'm wondering if they could go after free speech rights based on religious grounds. I'm wondering if they could go after privacy rights on religious grounds. I mean, privacy rights is part of the basis of Roe v. Wade, for example. How much of a dystopia might we be on the threshold of?
I shudder to think, because right now, with this 5-justice majority of very conservative justices, and obviously Justice Roberts, it's all relative. He is a conservative, so it is 6. But as you pointed out about the mandates based on religion, Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh at least did not see a religious exemption there, and at least are slightly inclined not to allow religious exemptions everywhere. But I don't think that's going to happen with these other major issues. I think on marriage, they're already going to move there. So you can only imagine if there were 2 more justices, we'd see a radical realignment of this country, much more aligned with theocracies around the world that are. And so
I remember in the 50s and 60s, they would go after people for having communist literature, right, or being members of a communist organization. Now, that wasn't religion, obviously, but what if they started identifying liberalism as satanic, and suddenly it's my religion to... I don't know where we could go with this, but it's a fascinating thought experiment, and It troubles me tremendously. If you haven't listened to Michelangelo's program on SiriusXM, you got to check it out. And
thank you, Tom.
Yeah, great talking with you, Michelangelo. And check
Absolutely.
out his.
Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. And check out his newsletter over at signorile.substack.com. Michelangelo, thank you so much for dropping by.